answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll move on to the next shot. Okay, this is by a photographer named Richard Avedon, who did a lot of famous portraits in the 1970s. He is famous for photographing people simply in front of a white sheet. In this photograph, he uses what's called a medium format camera, which is one kind of camera that produces a square image. Oh, square. It's like a square frame. It's not. You see, it's not horizontal or vertical. But what's important is not the length of the frame. What's important is how the subject is. I mean, this is Marilyn Monroe. This is a famous portrait of her. Avedon did a lot of became a popular celebrity photographer and was friends with Andy Warhol and a lot of people. And he's very famous for his portraiture. And he shoot people, just hang a white sheet and shoot them. And he had a lot of ways of sort of trying to draw out the personal details in people and sort of distracting or engaging them so that they would let their guard down in front of him. This is what was referred to as a medium close shot. Sometimes people think that this sort of thing is a close-up, which is, you could argue that, but it's a bit of a misconception. A close-up needs to be much closer. A medium close-up is, you're asking, like, do the feet need to be at the bottom of the medium shot? The point about a medium close-up is that it's no longer about the body. If you get close, it starts to become about the person's face and their emotion and their sort of position. A medium close-up, if you look here, and in this particular case, this is about the even point. Her waist is at the bottom, her head is at the top. In this case, a little space, but a lot of times, if you go to a medium close-up, it will cut off right at the top of their head. And we'll talk about headroom later. You can go a little lower or higher, but in general, a medium shot is the top half of the person's body. It won't necessarily be framed in the center. Sometimes it'll be a person looking at something else, but you'll still see from here to here on them. That would be still considered a medium close-up. But notice how much more detail we have here on the face. You still get a person's body language involved, but their facial expression becomes an integral part of the photograph. And backing up to signs again for a second, we were saying, a building can be a sign. In Bohr's class, a building can be a sign, but a brick can be a sign on its own. Every photograph in itself is a sign, but it's composed of other smaller signs. Body language expresses itself in a certain way, so that signifies something. When you take a picture of a person, for example, much like the building, that person is a sign. But the person is also made up of several small elements, which can also be signs. So when you frame a photograph in different ways, you choose which sign and therefore which meaning you're going to display. If you shoot a person with a medium shot or a long shot, you're more likely to be utilizing the sign of their body language and their position. When you get closer, the sign that you're paying the most attention to becomes the face. And faces can be very evocative, but sometimes, sometimes photography has too much of an obsession on iconizing people's faces, and it actually doesn't mean anything. We just come to recognize a famous person's face. Like if you look at a lot of magazine covers, Rolling Stone loves to do close-ups of people's faces because they try to make these people icons. They try to make their just the facial image be representative of a whole big idea, when really it often isn't. You're not learning anything from their face. All you're learning is that you're supposed to recognize that face and that it means something else. But what we want to focus on is what actual meaning can we draw from a person's face if you've never seen them before. And with that, I want to move on to